Hey guys, how you doing? This is Joe, also known as DJ Perform, and I wanted to give a quick overview of the Pioneer DDJ-SX2 from the good folks at Pioneer. This controller is relatively new, came out around November of 2014, and I wanted to I got a lot of questions on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and people wanted to know, DJ friends wanted to know kind of my basic review and how I like the Pioneer DDJ-SX2. So this is just a quick review and overview. I won't go over all the specific functions of the controller. There's plenty of videos for that, but I wanted to kind of give my thought on the Pioneer DDJ-SX2 and what I think you need to incorporate with it if you're going to purchase this controller. Okay, so the first thing is going to be, what are the new features that they've added in since the Pioneer DDJ-SX2? There's actually 3 new features, basically. The first one is that you now have flip controls. It's the first controller that actually offers flip controls actually on the unit. And if you want to know more about the flip function, Serato.com is the place where you need to go for that. But we now have onboard controls for flip on both decks. The second thing that we have on here is going to be, we now have RGB pads, meaning red, green, blue, and different variations of that. So you can kind of get an idea of what that would look like, red, yellow, blue, and it kind of corresponds right up here with your cue points. So the first cue point's red, the second cue point's yellow, blue, you kind of get the point. If you change the color of the cue point on here, let's say I'm going to make this blue one more like a pink, you can see, or a purple, you can see it comes up here on the actual controller. So an example that what you could do with that would be if you wanted to set, say, your hi-hat at red, and then you wanted to set your vocal at purple, you could definitely look more at the controller instead of looking at the laptop so much. So that actually adds to your performance. You're not focusing so much on the laptop. You can kind of pay attention to your crowd and what you're doing instead of just staring at a laptop all night. So always a good thing. So those are the first 2 features that I wanted to cover. The third feature, which nobody really talks about that much, and in my opinion is the most important feature, and that is the DVS Upgrade. So what this unit actually comes with is it's DVS Upgrade Ready. And what that basically means, and DVS stands for Digital Vinyl System. And what DVS actually means is that there's a price that you could pay to Serato. And the way you would do that, if you just go to your My Serato in the bottom corner of the screen here, and you go to expansion packs and activations, and then you'll see expansion packs, and when you go to that, you'll see one that says DVS Upgrade. I already own it, so you can see DVS expansion. So on here, when you add that, it's $99 that you had to pay to Serato, but what that gives you the ability to do, you might have noticed that there's 2 Technique 1200 turntables that are actually connected to this unit. And they're just connected simply by RCA in the back, and then there's just a USB cable running from the actual controller into the laptop. And really what that does is that gives you the ability to control the music that's stored in your computer, as you would. With the Technique 1200, you can see it's actually manipulating the track that's on here. So basically you're just using this controller as a mixer at this point. But you could take it a step further if you wanted to do, say, 4 decks. So I'll change my view on the laptop here. So now you see I have 4 decks. This deck is controlled by this 1200, and then I'll turn this one on. This deck is controlled by this 1200, and all the effects on here that you would normally trigger, they actually trigger post fader. So, you know, you wanted to trigger an effect on here, it'll affect it on here as if this was a standalone mixer. So that's a huge plus. That's something you don't find in a lot of controllers. So you have your 2 decks controlled by these 2 1200s, but if you wanted to add more on here, it's just as simple as dragging this on this deck and dragging this on this deck and switching these controls here, and now you actually have 4 independent decks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a huge thing. So for the DJs that really want to control a lot of music but actually have 4 decks to control it with, this is perfect. And it's well worth the $99 upgrade fee. So when you're pricing this controller out, MSRP is around $1,000. Go ahead and put that extra $99 on there because it's definitely well worth the upgrade. So the last thing that I'll just kind of cover, kind of give a basic overview of the controller. The controller's a really great controller, but For the turntablists, for those that have come from 1200s, for those that have come from motorized platters, me personally, I came from between 1200s and the Denon 3700s and the Denon 3900s. They all have moving platters. Where these, the controllers here, as you can see, they don't have motorized platters, and the platters are rather small. I mean, I don't have huge hands, and you can see my whole hand covers this entire jog wheel. So that's why I think the DVS is such a major thing and well worth the money, because you get those motorized platters to do your cutting and your scratching. But if you have the quick 2-hour party, absolutely go with this. Put this in. It's easy, it's light, it weighs under 20 pounds, it weighs 18 pounds, easy to carry, easy to transport. So A+ on the controller. If you're going to go into a club atmosphere or you're doing a bigger party, definitely DVS Upgrade, plug the 1200s or your CDJs into it. That's my review and overview of the Pioneer DDJ-SX2. Thank you for watching.
DJperform.com